Hey YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to spatchcock, brine, and smoke a 6.5 pound chicken. This is based off of the recipe that Meat Church has posted for spatchcocking, brining, and smoking a Thanksgiving turkey. Well, I'm not doing a turkey, we're just going to do a chicken. So, it usually turns out pretty good. I've done this before, and it should be pretty good. So the first thing we want to do here is prepare our brine. So we're going to stir that in. Good stuff. And we're going to bring it up to a simmer. So the brine that I'm using is Bird Baptism Brine. This is Meat Church's brine. Works really well. I've done beer can chickens in the past, but this brine is really good, and I definitely recommend that you try and use this brine. So we're going to bring this brine up to a simmer, and then we are going to put it into our bucket and let it cool off overnight. Keep it stirring, keep it moving. This is my brine bucket, and the brine bucket, it's a plastic bucket. We're going to put the chicken into this, and then we have this lid that is going to keep our chicken submerged. So if our chicken or anything decides to float, that'll keep it down. And then we have a lid to put on top of it. That lid is going to keep it sealed while it's in the fridge. So, all right, let's put our brine in the bucket, and we'll add our chicken to it. Our chicken is in the brine. So we have our lid to keep it under the water to make sure it stays in the brine. And we are going to put our lid on this, and we're going to put it in the fridge for 24 hours. So once we pull our chicken out of the brine, we're going to take a good pair of poultry shears, and we're going to cut the backbone out of it. And we're going to spatchcock it. Now, we're also going to flip it over. And we're going to break the breastbone. And then flip it back over because we're going to cut the breastbone out of it. It'll just make it easier to cook, make it easier to cut up and carve once we pull it off of our smoker. So that breastbone, we're going to try and get that breastbone out of this thing. So this is not the easiest thing to do, but you want to take a good sharp knife and you want to carve around the breastbone and just keep pulling and keep working. You don't want to lose a whole lot of meat to it. Keep pulling and keep working. And I actually used the poultry shears to get it the rest of the way out, but we took out the spine, we took out the breastbone, and we are now ready to season this. So we're going to pick a good barbecue rub, and we're going to season the underside, and we're going to season the top side. Now you can use whatever rub you want. I'm using Meat Church's Texas Sugar. We're going to liberally put it all over the bottom of the bird. We're going to pat it in, and then we're going to flip the bird over here. Now, here's where it gets a little funny. What I want to do is I want to pull the skin back, and I want to season the meat. So let's turn this thing around. We're going to expose these breasts. We're going to pull that popper pin out. And once the breasts are exposed, we're going to season that meat with some of our rub. We're going to pull back the skin on this side, and we're going to pull back the skin on this side, just so we can get to our meat, and we're going to season that too. Just work it a little bit. You know, if you need a knife, you can kind of cut it to get it to pull back, but you don't want to rip it. So now I have our skin pulled back. I'm going to grab our rub, and we're going to season the breasts. You want to use a generous amount of your rub, and you can use whatever rub you want. You don't have to use Meat Church's stuff. Hit the skin a little bit. Pat it into our meat. Now we want to pull the skin back over. And we're going to use toothpicks to repin that so that it doesn't pull away during our cook. We're also going to pull away the skin here at our thighs. And we're going to hit that with some of our rub. Get it between the skin and the meat. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Plenty of rub. Be generous with it. Make sure your meat is good and coated. You don't want to necessarily hit the skin real hard with your rub because the skin is the skin and it really doesn't season the meat. But it's always a good idea to season the skin too. But pulling the skin back, you can actually season the meat instead of just seasoning the skin. And you can see we're liberally hitting this. Pat our rub into the skin. Pat our rub into the meat. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some toothpicks and I'm going to pin our skin to our meat. We don't want that skin pulling back while this is smoking. We want it to stay over our meat and kind of protect it, I guess you could say. So here we are. We're going to pin the skin into our meat using our toothpicks. And I think we're pretty much good to go. This thing is ready for the smoker. So let's get it on the smoker. There's our water pan. There's our grate. Everything's ready to go. This is just going on. And we're going to smoke this thing probably for about 2 hours, give or take. And we'll come back and take a look at it. All right, so here we are. We're about an hour into our cook. The meat's looking pretty good. The chicken is looking pretty good. And we're going to close the lid and we're going to come back to it in another hour. And by then, we're probably going to be ready to temp it because it's probably going to be ready to go. All right, so here we are. We're another hour into the cook. We are ready to temp this thing with our temperature probe and see where we're at. We're shooting for 165. Oh, yep, we're definitely there. I'm going to try this too. Yep, we're definitely over where we needed to be. So this thing is done. We're going to pull it off the smoker and we're going to bring it into the house. We're going to wrap it up and we're going to let it rest. So I left this chicken on the grill a little bit longer than I should have, but it's not too far over. So yes, this was on the smoker a little bit longer than it should have been. But right here, we took out our breastbone and we're going to take a nice sharp knife and we're going to cut it in half, and then we're going to have 2 chicken halves that we can carve. We have our wings, we have our legs, we have our breasts, but it just makes things easier by pulling that breastbone out ahead of time. Right now, we're going to cover this thing in foil. We're going to let it rest, and then we're going to come right back and we are going to carve it up and let's eat. So our chicken has had plenty of time to rest, and we have it on our cutting board. There is the last breast that we are cutting up. Here we go. This is nice, juicy meat. We have our legs, we have our wings. This is the last breast that we are slicing. Very juicy, very good. I recommend that you try this recipe. And if you like this, like and subscribe.